The skies over New York darkened as the Kregon ships descended, their shadows sprawling like dark webs across the cityscape. Jack Turner watched from the window of a hastily erected resistance bunker, his hands clenched at his sides. The streets had emptied quickly, the chilling silence replacing the usual hum of the bustling city. "Jack, you seeing this?" Sarah, his second-in-command, called out from a nearby console, her voice tense. Jack turned, his gaze shifting from the window to the screens displaying various angles of the alien approach. "Yeah, I see it. Any word from command?" "Nothing yet. Communications are a mess. But we need a plan," she replied, her eyes not leaving the monitor. As they spoke, a thunderous voice boomed from the ships, resonating through every surface and echoing off the buildings. "People of Earth, we are the Kregon. Your defiance has been noted, and it will not stand. Surrender your leaders and cease all resistance." Jack snorted. "Like hell we will." He grabbed his radio, pressing the transmit button. "All units, maintain positions and stay out of sight. Do not engage until we have a strategy." Outside, the Kregon began their descent, their troops mobilizing with terrifying efficiency. Jack watched as lines of humans were rounded up, their wrists bound by energy cuffs. "Sarah, gather everyone in the meeting room. It's time we discuss our options," Jack said, determination set in his jaw. In the bunker's dimly lit meeting room, Jack faced the remaining leaders of the human resistance. "We can't outgun them, but maybe we can outsmart them." Ideas, Miles, an engineer, chimed in. "Their tech is advanced, but it's not infallible. We could create signal scramblers, disrupt their communications temporarily." "Good. Start on that. What else?" Jack encouraged, scanning the room. Lena, a strategist, suggested, "We use the subway tunnels. Move people and supplies unseen. It's our best shot at a covert resistance." Jack nodded, appreciating the input. "Let's get teams moving equipment underground. Sarah, coordinate the logistics." As the meeting adjourned, a sudden, powerful tremor shook the bunker. They rushed to the surveillance feeds, only to see a new ship, larger than the others, touching down. "This one's different," Jack murmured, his eyes narrowing. "Jack, look!" Sarah pointed at the screen where the Kregon were herding a group of captives into the new ship. His heart sank as he recognized faces from his own team among them. "They're taking them to that thing," Sarah said, her voice cracking slightly. Without a moment's hesitation, Jack decided, "That's it. We're going after them. Prepare a strike team." "But Jack, that ship could be a fortress or worse," Sarah protested. "It doesn't matter. We're getting our people back," Jack asserted, his voice firm. "Gear up. We leave in 10. As the team prepared, Jack loaded his own gear, his mind racing with plans and contingencies. He glanced back at the screens, at the images of his friends being led into an unknown fate, and he felt a surge of purpose. Today, they were not just fighting for Earth, but for each of their own. The journey to the Kregon prison ship was treacherous. Jack and his strike team navigated through the chaos of a city under siege, dodging patrols and debris. They reached the outskirts where the alien ship had landed, its massive structure casting an imposing shadow over the landscape. "All right, everyone, sync your watches. We have a short window before they take off again. Sarah, you're on comms. Keep us updated on any changes." Jack instructed as they huddled behind the remains of a crumbled wall, surveying the entry points. The team split into pairs, each tasked with creating diversions and disabling external security features. Jack and Sarah approached the main entrance, hidden under the cloak of a stolen Kregon device. As they neared the doorway, Jack whispered, "Ready for a warm welcome?" "Always," Sarah replied, pulling out a small device and attaching it to the door's control panel. Within seconds, the security protocols faltered, and the door slid open with a hiss. Inside, the architecture was as alien as its creators, smooth metallic surfaces and shifting walls. The hallways were lined with cells, each holding a mix of fear and defiance in the eyes of the human prisoners. Jack tapped his comm team we're in. Start the extraction process. Miles, how's the progress on the scramblers? Miles responded through static. All set. Activating now. Suddenly, the internal security systems flickered and went dark. The team took advantage of the confusion, quickly locating and freeing their captured comrades. Move fast. We don't have much time before they reset the system, Jack urged, leading the group towards what they hoped was an exit. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a Kregon guard. Before it could react, Jack and Sarah were upon it, their training taking over as they disarmed and incapacitated the alien. Nice moves, Sarah said, catching her breath. Learn from the best, Jack replied with a grin, referencing their days in the Resistance training camps. They continued, deeper into the ship until they reached a large chamber. Inside, a group of Kregon officers were rapidly working to restore their systems. Jack surveyed the room, then turned to his team. Here's the plan. We create a diversion here, then slip out during the confusion. Lena, take the lead on this. Lena nodded, pulling out a series of small, explosive devices. Cover me, she said, darting towards a control panel across the room. Explosions rocked the chamber as Lena's charges went off, sending sparks and alien shouts filling the air. The team took advantage of the disarray, sprinting towards a secondary exit Lena had discovered in the ship's blueprints. They burst out of the ship into the cool night air, just as the sounds of sirens began to wail behind them. Everyone accounted for? Jack called out as they made their way back through the city's ruins towards their bunker. One by one, the team confirmed, relief palpable in their voices. Back at the bunker, Jack debriefed the group. Today we hit them hard, but this is just the beginning. They know we can breach their tech and they'll tighten their security. We'll be ready for them, Sarah said, determination clear in her voice. Jack looked around at his team, their faces set with resolve. Let's start planning our next move. We've shown we can fight back. Now, let's make sure we keep the momentum. As they gathered around the maps and screens, plotting their next strike, Jack felt a surge of camaraderie. They were outmanned and outgunned, but they had something the Kregon didn't, unwavering human spirit. And to Jack, that made all the difference. Back in the relative safety of their underground command center, Jack and his team worked tirelessly to fortify their position and refine their tactics. The successful escape from the alien ship had ignited a new fervor among the resistance groups scattered across the globe. Jack's audacity and success had transformed him into a symbol of possible victory. Jack, we've got incoming transmissions from other cells. They're asking for guidance, and some are ready to mobilize, Sarah reported, handing Jack a stack of messages and reports. Jack scanned the communications quickly. Tell them to start preparations, but hold off on any major moves until we coordinate a global strike. We can't afford to go at this piecemeal. As they planned their next steps, an unexpected ally emerged. Dr. Helen Choi, a brilliant physicist and engineer who had been working in hiding, made contact. Jack Turner, I believe I have something that could help your cause, she said over a secure video link. Intrigued, Jack arranged a meeting in a secure location. Dr. Choi arrived with schematics for a device she claimed could disable Kregon technology on a large scale. It's still in the experimental phase, but with the right resources, we could build a prototype. Jack realized the potential. Dr. Choi, let's get you set up with what you need. This could be the edge we've been looking for. Over the next few days, the Resistance's focus shifted towards supporting Dr. Choi's project, codenamed Pulse. Meanwhile, Jack and his core team continued their guerrilla tactics, disrupting Kregon operations to slow down their consolidation of power. During one such operation, Jack and his team ambushed a Kregon supply convoy. Amidst the chaos, Jack captured a high-ranking Kregon officer. Back at the base, they attempted an interrogation, but the alien remained defiant. You humans are foolish. You do not understand the power you are meddling with, the Kregon snarled. Jack leaned in, his face inches from the aliens. Maybe, but we've got a knack for turning the tables. What are your commanders so afraid of? Why the rush to fortify your positions? The Krieg smirked, revealing nothing. Frustrated, Jack left the cell, but the encounter left him with more questions than answers. Later, as Jack pored over maps and reports, Sarah joined him. We're stretching ourselves thin with these skirmishes, Jack. What's the end game here? Jack looked up, his eyes weary but resolute. We keep them off balance until Dr. Choi's device is ready. Then we strike hard and fast. This is more than just hit and run. It's about preparing for the right moment to take back our planet. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. A Krieg strike team had located one of the Resistance's larger camps. Casualties were mounting. Damn it! We need to help them, Jack exclaimed, rising from his seat. He began issuing commands, mobilizing a rescue operation. As they prepared to depart, Jack addressed his assembled team. This isn't just about survival anymore. Each strike, each rescue, each day we hold on, we're kindling the fire of rebellion. Let's show them what that fire can do. The team cheered, bolstered by Jack's words, as they headed out into the night. The battle was far from over, but the spark of rebellion had been lit, and with each small victory, it grew into a blazing force that promised to challenge the Krieg's reign. In the dim light of the Resistance's makeshift command center, Jack and his team gathered around a series of monitors and maps, detailing the recent movements of the Krieg forces and the locations of their critical infrastructures. Dr. Helen Choi's device, now dubbed the Pulse, was nearing completion, and the time to plan their most ambitious operation yet had come. All right, team, listen up, Jack began, his voice steady and commanding. Dr. Choi has just about finished the Pulse. It's time to put everything we've learned into one decisive strike. Dr. Choi stepped forward, her eyes scanning the room. The Pulse will disable Krieg tech within a 2-mile radius for approximately 10 minutes. That's all the window will have to infiltrate their main command center and deliver a critical blow. Miles chimed in with a digital map displayed behind him. Based on our recon, the best entry point is here, through the old subway system that runs beneath their center. It's been abandoned since the invasion, so they won't be expecting us to come from below. Sarah looked concerned. 10 minutes isn't a lot of time to get in and out. What's our exit strategy? Jack nodded, acknowledging the risk. Once we're inside, Lena and her team will set charges while I and a few others head to the command hub. We'll need to time everything precisely. As for the exit, we'll use their own transports. Disable them from leaving the ground, but keep them operational enough for our escape. Lena, reviewing her own notes, added, I've prepared explosive devices specifically designed to disrupt their power cores without causing a full detonation. We cripple their infrastructure without leveling the entire block. The room buzzed with a mix of nerves and excitement as the gravity of their plan set in. Jack stood firm, meeting the eyes of each of his team members. This is it. We're not just hitting them. We're outsmarting them. We'll set up for the operation at dawn. Tonight, get some rest. As the team dispersed, Jack pulled Sarah aside. Keep an eye on the comms. If anything changes with the Krieg movements, I want to know immediately. Will do, Jack. And be careful, Sarah added, her voice tinged with concern. The next morning, under the cover of darkness, Jack's team moved silently through the city's desolate streets, their path lit only by the faint glow of the moon. They reached the entrance to the subway. Pride opened the service door and descended into the depths below. Navigating the tunnels proved challenging, but Miles' preparations paid off. They followed the old tracks, making virtually no sound as they approached the underground perimeter of the Krieg command center. As they set up the pulse device, Jack checked his watch and then looked to Dr. Choi. She nodded, her hand hovering over the activator. On my mark, Jack whispered into his radio. Dr. Choi pressed a button, and a deep hum vibrated to the ground as the device came to life. The monitors they brought with them flickered, signaling the deactivation of the Krieg tech above. Now, Jack hissed, leading the charge through the tunnels. As they emerged inside the Kregon base, the aliens were momentarily paralyzed by the sudden failure of their systems. Jack's team spread out, moving with precision and speed towards their objectives. "This is what we trained for," Jack reminded himself, as every second of their limited window counted down towards either their greatest victory or most crushing defeat. The stolen Kregon craft hummed through the atmosphere, slicing between cloud banks as Jack piloted them towards the relative safety of Earth's rugged terrain. The Kregon were not ones to allow their quarry to escape so easily, however, and it wasn't long before the sensors alerted them to incoming pursuit. "Jack, we've got company. 3 ships, closing fast," Sarah called out, her eyes fixed on the radar screen. Jack glanced at the display. "Hold on, everyone. This is going to get a bit rough." He pushed the throttle forward, the engines roaring as they surged into the lower stratosphere. The Kregon ships were relentless, their advanced weaponry firing pulses of energy that sizzled past the craft, heating the air around them. Jack swerved and dipped, using his knowledge of aerial combat to evade the barrage. "Miles, can you do anything to boost our speed, or maybe some evasive countermeasures?" Jack shouted over the din. Miles, strapped into a seat, worked on a panel. "I'm trying to reroute power from non-essential systems to give us a bit more thrust." "Hang on." Sparks flew from the wires as he adjusted the settings, and the craft lurched forward with a newfound burst of speed. Sarah kept watch on their pursuers. "Looks like you bought us some time, but they're adapting quickly." Jack steered the craft toward a dense cloud bank, hoping to lose their pursuers. "We need to find cover and make a run for the resistance base. Lena, plot a course to the nearest safe zone." Lena, navigating from a handheld device, directed him towards a narrow canyon known for its complex radar signatures. "If we can get down there, we might lose them on their sensors." As they descended, the Kregon ships followed, the gap closing as both parties hurtled towards the jagged earth below. Jack's hands were steady on the controls, each maneuver calculated with precision born of desperation. The canyon walls loomed large as they entered, rock faces blurring past at breakneck speed. Jack used every twist and turn to his advantage, barely avoiding outcroppings and relying on his instincts to navigate the treacherous terrain. Behind them, one of the Kregon ships miscalculated a sharp turn, crashing into the canyon wall in a fiery explosion. "One down," Jack noted, glancing briefly in the rearview display. "But the others are still on us." The chase continued, the Kregon adapting, learning Jack's tactics. The remaining ships fired more cautiously, timing their shots to anticipate his moves. "We can't keep this up forever," Sarah said, tension evident in her voice. Jack eyed a particularly narrow passage up ahead. "We won't have to." Everyone braced for impact. He accelerated into the passage, the ship's wings inches from the rock. As they shot through, a pursuing Kregon craft clipped its wing, spiraling out of control. Emerging from the other side, Jack pushed the craft to its limits, the resistance base now just a few coordinates away. "Miles, once we land, we'll need to scramble their signals. Can you manage that?" "Already on it," Miles replied, preparing his equipment. They landed at the resistance base, hidden within an old industrial complex. The team quickly disembarked, rushing to prepare defenses as Miles set up his scrambling equipment. As the final Kregon ship approached, its systems began to falter, confused by the scrambled signals emanating from the base. It retreated, unable to secure a lock on its target. Jack watched as the alien craft disappeared from the radar. "That'll keep them guessing for a while," he said with a weary smile. Turning to his team, he added, "Great work, everyone. Let's debrief and plan our next move. The Kregon won't give up easily, but today we showed them that neither will we." As Jack and his team regrouped at the resistance base, the mood was cautiously triumphant. They had not only survived the Kregon chase, but also managed to bring back crucial intelligence from the alien command hub. Now, armed with this knowledge and the continued disruption caused by Dr. Choi's pulse device, They prepared for what could be a defining confrontation. Jack stood before his assembled team in the central meeting room, maps and digital displays casting light in the dim space. Thanks to everyone's efforts, we've got a fighting chance now. But the Krigan are regrouping, and we can expect a heavy retaliation. We need to be ready to stand our ground. Sarah, reviewing the latest satellite imagery on her screen, interjected, "We've spotted a significant buildup of Krigan forces moving towards our sector. It looks like they're planning a full-scale assault." Miles, tinkering with a piece of recovered Krigan technology, looked up. "We've managed to adapt some of their tech. These modified drones can disrupt their comms temporarily during the assault. It won't stop them, but it'll slow them down." Jack nodded, his expression serious. "We'll use every advantage we have. Lena, how are the defensive preparations outside?" Lena responded from the doorway, clad in tactical gear. "Perimeter mines are set and sniper positions are manned. We'll give them a warm welcome." Jack's gaze swept over his team, his voice firm and inspiring. "This base is not just a shelter. It's a symbol that we can hit back and win. We hold here, no matter what." As the preparations continued, Jack walked the perimeter, double-checking every defensive setup. The air was tense, electric with anticipation and the weight of impending battle. Hours later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the first signs of the Krigan advance appeared. A low rumble echoed in the distance, growing steadily louder as the alien forces approached. "Positions, everyone." Jack's command was calm but urgent, heard clearly over the comm system. The first wave of Krigan troops was met with a barrage of fire from the resistance fighters. Explosions lit up the night as perimeter mines detonated, halting the initial push. Jack coordinated the defense from a central bunker, issuing commands with precision. However, the Krigan adapted quickly, deploying heavier units and beginning to bombard their position with long-range artillery. The ground shook, and the air was filled with noise and chaos. "Shift fire to Sector 3. Reinforce the north barricade." Jack shouted into his radio as reports of breaches poured in. In the thick of the battle, a Krigan detachment managed to penetrate the perimeter, leading to intense hand-to-hand combat. Jack grabbed his rifle, joining his comrades in the fray. Each resistance fighter battled with the ferocity of 10, driven by the desperate hope of their cause. Amidst the conflict, Jack noticed a Krigan officer signaling for a massive aerial strike. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he made a split-second decision. "Cover me!" he yelled to Sarah, dashing towards a captured Krigan vehicle armed with heavy weapons. Mounting the vehicle, Jack targeted the Krigan air units as they lined up for their bombing run. His shots were precise, hitting critical points and causing two of the crafts to collide spectacularly, disrupting the assault pattern. The battle raged for hours, pushing both sides to their limits. Finally, as dawn broke, the intensity of the Krigan attack began to wane. The Resistance's tenacity and strategic use of adapted alien technology had cost the invaders dearly. Exhausted but alive, Jack surveyed the battlefield, strewn with debris and the remnants of the night's fierce fighting. His team had held. They had protected their base, their hope, and their future. "Let's get to work," Jack said tiredly to those gathered around him. "We repair, we rebuild, and we get ready. They'll be back, but so will we." As his team rallied to his call, beginning the task of repairing and preparing, Jack allowed himself a moment to feel pride in their resilience, knowing that this battle was a testament to human spirit and determination. The stolen Krigan craft hummed through the atmosphere, slicing between cloud banks as Jack piloted them towards the relative safety of Earth's rugged terrain. The Krigan were not ones to allow their quarry to escape so easily, however, and it wasn't long before the sensors alerted them to incoming pursuit. "Jack, we've got company. 3 ships, closing fast," Sarah called out, her eyes fixed on the radar screen. Jack glanced at the display. "Hold on, everyone. This is going to get a bit rough." He pushed the throttle forward, the engines roaring as they surged into the lower stratosphere. The Krigan ships were relentless, their advanced weaponry firing pulses of energy that sizzled past the craft, heating the air around them. Jack swerved and dipped, using his knowledge of aerial combat to evade the barrage. "Miles, can you do anything to boost our speed, or maybe some evasive countermeasures?" Jack shouted over the din. Miles, strapped into a seat, worked on a panel. "I'm trying to reroute power from non-essential systems to give us a bit more thrust." "Hang on." Sparks flew from the wires as he adjusted the settings, and the craft lurched forward with a newfound burst of speed. Sarah kept watch on their pursuers. "Looks like you bought us some time, but they're adapting quickly." Jack steered the craft toward a dense cloud bank, hoping to lose their pursuers. "We need to find cover and make a run for the resistance base. Lena, plot a course to the nearest safe zone." Lena, navigating from a handheld device, directed him towards a narrow canyon known for its complex radar signatures. "If we can get down there, we might lose them on their sensors." As they descended, the Krieg ships followed, the gap closing as both parties hurtled towards the jagged earth below. Jack's hands were steady on the controls, each maneuver calculated with precision born of desperation. The canyon walls loomed large as they entered, rock faces blurring past at breakneck speed. Jack used every twist and turn to his advantage, barely avoiding outcroppings and relying on his instincts to navigate the treacherous terrain. Behind them, one of the Krieg ships miscalculated a sharp turn, crashing into the canyon wall in a fiery explosion. "One down," Jack noted, glancing briefly in the rearview display. "But the others are still on us." The chase continued, the Krieg adapting, learning Jack's tactics. The remaining ships fired more cautiously, timing their shots to anticipate his moves. "We can't keep this up forever," Sarah said, tension evident in her voice. Jack eyed a particularly narrow passage up ahead. "We won't have to." Everyone braced for impact. He accelerated into the passage, the ship's wings inches from the rock. As they shot through, a pursuing Krieg craft clipped its wing, spiraling out of control. Emerging from the other side, Jack pushed the craft to its limits, the resistance base now just a few coordinates away. "Miles, once we land, we'll need to scramble their signals. Can you manage that?" "Already on it," Miles replied, preparing his equipment. They landed at the resistance base, hidden within an old industrial complex. The team quickly disembarked, rushing to prepare defenses as Miles set up his scrambling equipment. As the final Krieg ship approached, its systems began to falter, confused by the scrambled signals emanating from the base. It retreated, unable to secure a lock on its target. Jack watched as the alien craft disappeared from the radar. "That'll keep them guessing for a while," he said with a weary smile. Turning to his team, he added, "Great work, everyone. Let's debrief and plan our next move. The Krieg won't give up easily, but today we showed them that neither will we." After a long, harrowing night of relentless conflict, the first light of dawn crested the horizon, illuminating the battered but still standing resistance base. Jack, weary yet vigilant, walked among his team members who were tending to the wounded and salvaging what they could from the night's devastation. "Jack," Sarah approached him with a steely determination in her eyes. "We've done more than just survive. We've got a real chance now." Jack nodded, looking out over the remnants of their defenses. "This base, it's more than just walls and wire. It's a testament to what we can achieve, but the real work starts now." Throughout the day, reports flowed in from other resistance cells around the world, inspired by their victory and the valuable intel Jack's team had extracted. It seemed the Krieg's grip was loosening, their air of invincibility shattered by the relentless human spirit. Jack convened a strategy meeting, determined to capitalize on their momentum. "We've shown that the Krieg can be beaten. Now let's push forward. We'll coordinate with other cells, share what we've learned, and take the fight to them." As they planned their next moves, an urgent message interrupted them. It was from a nearby resistance cell under attack. Without hesitation, Jack rallied his team. "We help them now. We keep the pressure up, keep them disoriented. The team mobilized quickly, moving out with renewed purpose. As they approached the besieged cell, Jack's experience and tactical acumen shone through. They executed a flanking maneuver that took the Krigon forces by surprise, effectively turning the tide in favor of the resistance. In the aftermath, the grateful fighters from the rescued cell shared their own intelligence, locations of key Krigon supply lines and command centers. With each piece of shared information, the network of human resistance grew stronger, more connected. Days turned into weeks, and Jack's leadership continued to inspire those around him. The resistance began reclaiming territories, liberating towns, and disrupting alien operations. With every victory, the hope for a free Earth grew brighter. Finally, the resistance was ready for the final assault against the Krigon's main command center. The combined forces of Earth cells, united under a single banner of freedom, launched a full-scale offensive. The battle was fierce, with heavy losses on both sides, but the humans' resolve was unbreakable. As Jack led the final charge, he could see the tide turning. The Krigon, overwhelmed by the humans' ingenuity and bravery, began to falter. And then, in a decisive blow, the main command center was captured. Standing amidst the ruins of the alien stronghold, Jack watched as his fellow fighters celebrated. There were tears, laughter, and an overwhelming sense of relief. Earth was free once more. "We did it," Jack said quietly to Sarah as they watched the sunrise together, a new day dawning on a liberated world. Sarah smiled, squeezing his hand. "We did it together." As they stood there, the horizon bright with the first light of freedom, Jack knew this was just the beginning. Rebuilding would take time, and there might be more challenges ahead. But for now, humanity had reclaimed its home, and that was a victory worth everything. The story of their incredible escape from the Unbreakable prison and the subsequent uprising spread far and wide, becoming a legend of human resilience, a beacon for future generations to believe in the power of unity and courage. This tale, born from the depths of struggle, not only celebrated their hard-won freedom, but also marked the dawn of a new era for humanity.